Red Hood and the Outlaws #3, written by Scott Lobdell, art by Kenneth Rocafort. We last left off with Red Hood going through and fighting all the undead versions of his brothers in the Allcast, and then once again swearing to get vengeance and blah blah blah. This issue, he heads a little bit deeper into the Allcast cave and comes across this kid. His name is Saru the Proctor, but he is apparently 4,000 years old and is something to be trifled with or whatever. Apparently he was being protected by the Allcast, and Red Hood makes the point of like, you know I would never get here if the Allcast was still protecting you, right? And Saru's like, yeah, they were killed by the Untitled that walked by here about half an hour ago. Let me guess, you're here for some vengeance, right? And Red Hood's like, I mean, that's kind of my thing. Yeah, it's what I do. And Saru is, he is so uncaring about this entire thing for whatever reason, but he's willing to let them through with the cost being each of their most cherished memories. So he just magics them out of him, and then they say, you'll get these back when you come back, if you come back. So then Red Hood goes and he knocks on this big wooden door, and when he walks in, it is, he calls it the Chamber of All. It is essentially Alice in Wonderland meets MC Escher, just winding crazy stairs, and he describes it as, it's a nexus, not the Marvel kind. You can go anywhere and any when from this point, which seems to open up a whole big can of worms of like, you could do a lot with this, but regardless, he is focused solely on following, I guess, a path of breadcrumbs that the Untitled actually like left for him in order to make sure he finds something. So there's a few cutaways in this where we're viewing their most cherished memories. I'll get to those at the end. But they arrive at this big chamber, this big cave, and they're like, all right, well, this is what it led to. And there's a big shiny thing across this big empty cavern, so let's go check it out. And Starfire just shouts at us, like, wait a minute, this is a trap. And no shit, but also Red Hood and Arslan are like, please, we got it. What could possibly go? And then the floor turns into spikes, almost impales them. And then the entirety of the floor raises up, and it turns out it was this giant Godzilla-sized demon-looking thing. So they start fighting against it. It's also got the, what's it called? The little relic on it. So anyway, they're trying to do any sort of damage against it, not succeeding. Starfire gets grabbed by its tongue and swallowed. That kind of freaks Roy out for a second. But Red Hood's like, nah, she's fine. She can handle herself. Help me get to the relic. So he climbs up onto the relics thing as Roy distracts the creature as best he can with a bunch of arrows. And when he gets there, he's like, finally, I have it. And he looks, and it's a snow globe of a barn with the word Colorado written on it. Like, it's just a tourist thing. It's just a snow globe for Colorado. And he's like, are you kidding me? But in that moment, the giant monster beast starts getting some heartburn. Starfire bursts her way out and saves the two of them from dying, I guess. Like, she's just carrying them out of the entire chamber. She's like, we got what we want, goodbye. Going back to the memory stuff, Saru, apparently it's against the rules for him to look at other people's memories, but he's like, well, technically that only applies to humans, so I could look at the alien one. So he looks at Starfire's memory, and it's her being enslaved on this planet, and she falls down into the mud, and one of the slavers comes up, and he's like, he tries to connect. He's like, I was once your age, and I can't believe that my people have done this to you. It's heartbreaking. I'm so sorry. And she's like, well, thank you. If you could just do me one small favor. And he's like, anything I can do, I will gladly do it for you. And she just blows a hole through his stomach and says, don't give me your goddamn pity. I don't need it. I'm the princess, bitch. In fewer words, but pretty much that. And all the guards start like coming after her. And Saru's like, oh, gee, that would, all right. Then we cut to Roy's memory after a little bit of the fight. He's fighting Killer Croc, literally hand to hand. Like, he's out of arrows, his bow is broken, and he's just trying to punch out Killer Croc, and he's losing hard. He's obviously either drunk or high or something like that. And Killer Croc realizes this, and he's like, okay, I get it. You want, like, suicide by Croc. You're using me in order to get out your own little problems. Look, I'm not going to do that. Get your life in order, and if you need something, we'll see. Basically, he's just kind of being like a little friend, but he's also like, look, leave me out of this, because the next time you come to me, I'm not going to be so kind. And I like how Saru says, like, oh, that was almost sweet in a pathetic kind of way. So anyway, both of the storylines converge, and they step outside of the whatever of all. I already forgot the name of it. And they come out and they ask Saru, hey, you know what this thing is? And he's like, I don't know. Here are your memories. And Roy and Starfire each take theirs, but Jason's like, nah, keep it. I'm too edgy for that. And then we see what his was, and it was Batman and Robin. They were about to go out on patrol. Alfred says how Jason has the flu, and so Batman's like, all right, you got to stay here until you get better. And he's like, all right, yes, sir. So he goes and he sits on the couch. Alfred brings him some soup or whatever. And then Batman comes in, and he's like, hey, taking a night off in a while isn't a crime, so what are we watching? And he sits down, grabs some popcorn, and Jason just falls asleep next to Batman. Nice little heartwarming moment. Nothing too bad, and that's where the issue leaves off. This issue feels just character development. This is just character development issue, where it's like, okay, why are these people the way they are? Starfire is, like, cruel, but she had that life, and Roy's obviously got his own stuff, and then just, we know a lot about Jason, but just had this moment of him and Batman, which honestly was a very good moment. Yeah, no, it's just character development. That's not inherently a bad thing, but at the same time, I'm still not entirely, like, I don't know what the Untitled are still. I'm still confused on what the All Cast, like, does or is. A lot of this is still like, okay, I need some explanation here, just a little bit. I get you're going for some sort of mystery, but it's not a mystery in that they're trying to figure out something. They know what they're doing. I don't. But I'm not gonna fault it for doing character development instead. It's fine. I just wish it would speed up a little bit. I gave this one 6.5. The art, of course, is fantastic the whole way through. I did notice that in the trade they show like the line art for the drawing of the cover, and they just straight up went with an entirely different thing. Like, the cover for the issue that they went with is them all fighting their memories, which of course it's a fight. But the old one is just them, just like on the cover, and then the memory of Batman and Jason. I think that's a much better cover, but hey, gotta have a fight in there. So yeah, 6.5. It's Red Hood. Moving on.